superstar bike. I love the fact that I bought a cheap motorcycle and it's working out really good for us. I love it. Oh, you want to go in the air conditioning? All right. Hi everyone, I hope y'all are doing great today. We are just sitting outside. It's supposed to hit like 89 degrees today. What do you think about that? I just took him for our second walk and he didn't really want to go. I had a water bottle in his little pop-up dish and we headed out around. I was just going to take him out in the back grass there, and he wanted to get in the car. He thought we were getting in the car to go somewhere. And Mom's going to the grocery, so we're just hanging out. Couldn't take him anywhere in the car. But then we walked up to the grass up there. So he knows when it's hot out like this, he checks down a couple notches. I don't blame him at all. I do the same thing. We're just hanging out. It's the day before Independence Day. Happy 4th to everyone. You know, in the last video, I put that little comment about that I don't talk about politics on the channel. And then I clipped out like a 15-minute discussion that I had with y'all about thoughts and feelings on politics and the country and all that. And after sitting there and listening to it a couple times, I said, you know what? I'm just going to not put that in the video because I'm not an expert. I'm speaking just from, my heart and my gut. And I don't want to get into a back and forth. As you all know, politics can be very divisive. And the last thing I want to do is create a situation where any of you folks are in disagreement with other folks that are watching, because that's not what we come here for. You all come here to check your brain out for 30 or 45 minutes a week and watch me and the dog do stupid stuff, and watch me talk about things. And one of those things is not going to be politics. I'm going to continue to keep that away from the channel. A big reason why is that's not something that I'm involved in. It doesn't take up my mind space. And the only reason that I was talking about it with the camera pointed at me that y'all didn't see was because of just what's happening in the country. And see, here I am, I'm starting to talk about it again. So I'm just going to stop right there. And the reason I'm talking about it right now is because tomorrow is July 4th, and it's the celebration of the country, and it stirs up feelings of, pride in the country. And, we've been really lucky to be able to see some really beautiful parts of the country. And, we haven't even scratched the surface of more beautiful places we can see. That's what I mean when I'm talking about like pride in the country, and that it's such a beautiful place to live. And if you want to compare it to other parts of the world, it's a great place to live. And I know there's people that just aren't happy with the country, and I get that. But when I stop and think, from like a base level, it's a beautiful place to be. And that I'm really thankful for, and that Lefty and I have the chance to experience and see different things. And that's kind of what's on my menu right now. I've spent the last several weeks just thinking about some bucket list things that I have that have to do with parts of the country I want to see and experience. And I'm not talking about like I want to go look at the Grand Canyon. My My desires are more like I want to see a small town and eat in a diner there. That's what makes me feel whole, is experiencing that kind of stuff. In combination with seeing beautiful things, but my desires lean more toward societal and community type exposure. So, if we get to go to a beautiful place to camp and then there's a small town nearby that we get to go and experience, that to me is like, winning the lottery right there. So again, I hope you all have a great 4th. I can see the American flags are up all around here in the neighborhood. You start to see all of that and parades and just, the celebration of the country. And I think it's great that we have that holiday set aside for just that reason. So yesterday we came out here, both of us. He was supervising, and I fiddled with that chain guide issue that I mentioned in the last video. I had loosened up the mounts of it, and this is not a major issue. It was just the chain was off center on the chain guide. It was towards the outside of the bike. So I had loosened up the mounts in the last video and kind of, put it back in position and tightened it all back up. And then I took it out and rode around yesterday like 10 miles with the purpose of I wanted to come back and check that. And when I came back and checked it, the chain had moved to the side of the guide again. I had mentioned there were 2 washer shims on the mount of the guide, kind of moving it from side to side. And so I took one of those out, and they were fat washers, and it moved it over. I put the chain back into position, tightened everything up, took it out for like 5-mile ride, and it came back and it's perfect. So it was just off just enough that it was making the chain just move to the side of the guide. So now that's fixed. And I'm just going to keep my eye on it and over time and make sure that it stays right there. But I think it has that adjustability in with those two spacers in there. And so one of them's out. It lined up perfectly. I also messed around up here. I had routed this wire right here is actually what goes down to the speed sensor on the wheel down there. So it comes up the forks, and then it rides along with the front brake hose here, and then it dips down and kind of ties into the wiring harness that's back here. And when I had assembled the bike, I had it I just had it routed in a way that I didn't like. It was kind of crisscrossing right above the key here. So when I would go to put the key in, I had to like push the wire out of my way. So now you can see I've got it tucked back there. So, still behind the light assembly up here. It's just not crisscrossing on the ignition switch. So not a big deal. I just had to unmount the speedometer assembly here because the wire was kind of captive behind it. So I took those bolts out. I loosened up the straps on the front plate here and moved that out of the way, and then got this bolts taken out so that I could move the wire from behind here to out there and then put it all back together. So not a big deal. So the bike's running great. I really enjoy it. Riding on the road is so smooth. That's why I've been putting all the miles on it. These tires were a really good idea, and you can tell if you look at the profile of it, you see how it's rounded. The other tires, these side knobs came out like this for dirt riding, and which made it not good for cornering, for going around turns. And then there was a lot of spacing in between the big lugs, so that you were feeling a bump, 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 because you were going up on the lug and then off of it and then up and off. And the way this is designed, the lugs, you always have contact with the road, so there's no bump, 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 bump. It's just a nice, smooth feel, and they're working out really well, both the front and the back. And I'm sure that having them balanced by that mobile tire guy that came, I'm sure that's helping too. But it rides very smooth down the road. Very nice. I have no complaints on it. Yesterday, Dalen stopped by after work to say hey. She went to the gym after work, and then she came by. And I was talking about the bike, of course. And I said to her, she's like, well, how is it? And I said, oh, it's great. And then I said, I wish it had more power. And she laughed. She's like, Dad, you don't need more. I'm like, I know, but I can't help it, right? I always want more power. I'm just going to put that out of my mind. In normal riding circumstances, all I need is good torque for low-end maneuverability, low-end power. That's all I need. And then when I go on the road, I think back to my Kawasaki and my KTM. I used to ride them from our campsites into town. And, in one place, it's like 35-mile-an-hour roadway. So perfect bike. So that was what I had in mind when I got this bike, that I don't need to go 70 miles an hour on the road. I only need to go 35, and maybe there's a section of road that's 55. And I can do that on this bike. So that's what my thought was in getting a bike that's, a lower performance, low maintenance. That was my reasoning behind this bike. I don't need a high-strung race engine that needs, frequent oil changes and all that kind of stuff. I really don't need that. It makes for just more of a hassle when we're out traveling around. Are you going to knock this over here, buddy? Oh, let me tell you what I did to poor Mom the other day. So she has what's the name of the thing? Hold on, let me go look real quick. Ninja. Okay. Yeah, Mom has a Ninja. It's like a toaster, it's an oven, it's an air fryer. It also flips up so you can store it, like slide it to the back of the counter. But hey, that little nasty dog over there. It thinks it wants to fight with Lefty all the time, that little black one. And he pretty much ignores it. He doesn't mess with little dogs. But let me tell you what I did. I was putting something in the oven, the Ninja, and using that pan. That's a pan that came with it. It came with all different kinds of pans depending on what mode you're running it in. So I got that out, and Mom has this, it's like oven paper. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. And you can use it to put underneath something that you're cooking. And it's like paper, but it doesn't burn or melt or anything. Technology, right? That's science. So I went in the drawer where she has all the stuff, and I got out a piece of that, and I put it on the pan, and I put the thing on it that I was heating up, and I put it in the oven. And then, a couple days later, I noticed she's got the pan on the kitchen counter, and it's got like some stuff on it. I asked her what was going on, and she said, I don't know, there's something stuck to it. She said, I don't know what I did, but I can't get it to clean up. She said, it's almost like there's plastic or something stuck to it. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And she goes, have you cooked anything in there? And I said, well, I heated up that chicken breast the other night, but I put the paper under it. And she said, no, you didn't. And I said, yeah, I did. I got the paper out of the drawer there, and I put it on the pan. She said, no, you didn't. I had to come in and put a piece of paper under it. I said, well, I noticed that. I thought you just, because the piece she put under it was folded in half. And I had seen that when I came back to get the chicken out of the oven, that the paper was in there and it was folded in half to like make it a smaller piece. And I said, yeah, I saw that. I thought you just folded the piece in half. She goes, no, I had to put that in there. And I'm like, no, Mom, I put it in there. And I opened up the drawer in the kitchen. I opened up the drawer, and I said, I reached right back here, and I got a piece of this, and I put it on. And she's like, David, that's not the paper stuff. That's plastic sealer. And I said, oh, no. The brown stuff she has, I actually don't even see it in here. She must have moved it somewhere else. But this is what I put on the pan, and it's plastic, and that was my fault. So I told her, find the replacement pan and I'll buy it for you. I feel terrible. You know, I didn't come here to visit Mom and ruin her kitchen devices. I feel so stupid. And I remember like getting belligerent with her. I'm like, no, Ma, I put a piece in there. And then I pulled that out of the drawer and I'm like, there, see? She's like, David, that's plastic. So I might have consumed some melted plastic. Yeah, but the chicken was right there, and no plastic stuck there because it probably stuck to the bottom of the chicken. And I hate it. What do you think about all that? Huh? All right, I got a message from Harry. So he's still got the truck over there doing the brake job. So you know that the front pads that I had were wrong. He had to get those. Then when he went to the rear drums were wrong. If you remember, like, I couldn't figure out which drums to get because there's so many different ones from all the different axles that are used on that thing. And so I went up there and we went to the parts counter guy and he got a number, which I then went and found and I ordered them. Well, that wasn't right, you know. So he had to get the drums. And he got them. Like, he goes to the parts counter guy, and he had one in his hand, and he was going to see if he could get the part number off of it. He probably did, but I don't know. So he had to get new drums for the rear. And then last night, he sent me a message that one of the rear calipers totally shot. And I had told him the story about when I overheated the brakes really bad coming down that mountain in Colorado. And he said, well, this is what can happen when you overheat the brakes. It cooked the caliper. So he's getting a caliper today. You know, thankfully, he's able to get all these parts, like, the same day. And, you know, the parts counter gets them, and he takes them back home with him. And he says it's not a big deal because it happens to him at work, the wrong parts, and they have to get different ones. But I feel, you know, like, not great about not having the right parts for him. I guess it's my fault that the caliper got cooked up, but the bearings have all been good. The seals have all been good that I got. The rear brake pads were correct. So front pads, rear rotors were wrong. And now we've got a cooked caliper. So he's taking care of that today. We're looking at, you know, I mentioned a few weeks ago I was trying to get out of here in the month of June. Well, obviously that didn't happen. We're into July now. And this brings up a really good kind of lesson that I want to talk about, and how I have had to retrain my entire soul on how not to get worked up over this kind of situation. You know, so I had in my mind, okay, I want to hit the road by the end of June. And then now that's not happening. And I can feel it. It's almost like a physical, mental thing where I can feel myself starting to get, you know, like kind of anxious about it and worried. And then what I've taught myself here in the last handful of years is stop that thinking. Because let's say that there was a part that was totally broken on the truck and it can't get here for 3 weeks, right? What does that mean to my life? It means we are 3 weeks delayed getting back on the road, and that's about it. It's not, you know, there's nothing more serious than that. And for whatever reason, that used to really, you know, get me kind of wound up because, like, I had this plan and I want to stick to the plan. And one thing that I've learned over these years recently is the less plans that I make, the better I feel. And when I do make plans, I really try to keep them very loose and like open ended, like trying to get out of here the month of June. Didn't say I'm leaving here June 30th. I just trying to get out of here the month of June. Because if you don't make a plan, you can't not meet the plan, right? But saying that, I still need to keep myself kind of with focus and goals so that I can get ready. And if I just had no idea when I was ever going to leave, I don't set up my priority list and get my things done with that goal in mind. So I have to have a loose goal, a loose target. Helicopter. I have a loose target or plan of when we're going to leave. And to meet that, I have to do these 10 things beforehand. So that's why I keep a loose plan, so that I can, have my burn down and get the things done that need to be done leading up to meeting that plan. So in this case, leaving New York, so there were things I needed to do before we leave New York, helping my daughter over at her house, getting all of my stuff collected up from here and from my daughter's, and putting them all in a storage locker that I have now rented. And that's a whole nother topic, and we'll get to that in a minute. So all of these things that I needed to do, I've been doing them to meet our goal of leaving in the month of June. Well, now we're not going to leave in the month of June. And so I still start to feel that little bit of, but then I'm like, I don't, Mom doesn't care if I hang out here longer. Dalen doesn't like when I leave. She likes me to be here, so she'll be happy about it. So we're delayed, and I knew that if we got into the first week of July that I was going to wait it out, because traveling around the holiday time, Labor Day, Memorial Day, July 4th, those aren't good times to do casual traveling, because there's an added amount of people that are out doing traveling, and so things are busier, and I've gotten caught in that before, not even thinking about it. In fact, when we first went on the road, I took off on the holiday weekend, September, and found out that places were full up and busy, and it was, so ever since that happened, I've tried to make sure that we're not out traveling during these holidays in the summer. So I knew that we were going to push past the July 4th holiday and through the weekend. So we're looking into, at least into middle of next week, before we get packed up and out of here. So that's where we're at now. I'm calm about it, just sitting here hanging out, enjoying the day. Really don't have much to do today. It's hot, so we're gonna poke around in the garage. I've just been like cleaning my tools and stuff, just trying to do some little things to keep myself entertained. Every morning when my coffee is brewing, I come out in the garage and look at the motorcycle. I'm guilty, right? Any of you that are motorcycle owners, classic car owners, you know that part of the joy of that is looking at your stuff, right? That's a thing. That's a real thing. And I like tinkering and working on things as much as using them. Like, I like having a bike. I like messing with it, doing work on it, modifying them, just as much as I like riding them. That's a whole thing I learned as I got older, that the ownership and the maintenance and the upkeep of the item is just as enjoyable as having it. And as I've gotten older, I think a little bit even more so, So every morning, the coffee's burbling in there, and I'm out here like touching my bike and looking at it. Yeah, a storage unit. Something that I've never wanted to do since we started traveling in the rig. I never wanted to get a storage unit. And, I was keeping stuff here at Ma's in the garage. I had some extra clothing upstairs in her closet, and I had some things over at Dalen's place. And when I came back this year, I looked at all of it and I said, I wasn't comfortable having the stuff over at my daughter's house. I want her to have her house, and it's all of her stuff, and I don't want there to be my things kind of invading on her life. And she's like, Dad, you can put as much stuff as you want. And of course, she's going to say that, and I'm sure she means it, but I'm just not comfortable with it. So I found myself the cheapest storage unit that I could. It's just a few miles around the corner here. Climate controlled, 5 by 10. It's like $60 a month. So I had to say to myself, and I got the first month free. So I had to say to myself, are the things that I'm going to put in there worth paying $750 a year to store? And monetarily, like barely, right? But they're things that I want to keep. And so I'm looking forward into the future of, we're not going to be driving around in the ambulance for the rest of my life. At some point, we're going to have to get a little home base and some place to sit. And I'm keeping this stuff that I really want to keep with that goal in mind, that I'm going to have a place and this stuff will all go there. Like my floor jack stands, some extra tools, a lot of extra clothing, my stereo that was from my house, my 7.2 Onkyo surround sound system. Can't bring it to myself to not keep that. It's, to replace it is many, many hundreds of dollars. And that's not something, and I loved it, I want to keep that system. And Dalen doesn't want it. She's like, that's not my style, Dad, like having a stereo and a receiver and speakers and subwoofers, and she's just not into it. So I kept that. I got it out of her basement. I've put it over there in the storage unit. So there's a lot of items that I'm keeping for future use that I just can't bring myself to not keep. Motorcycle parts, my original Coleman 2-burner green propane stove that we went on the road with, that's in there. Just a lot of, parts that there's parts that I had bought for the truck, like the original fan I got, another fan. So there's things that are that were in the truck that aren't anymore, but I don't want to get rid of them, and I don't have anybody to give them to here locally, so I'm going to keep them, right? And put them to use in the future, either for us or for somebody else. I hope y'all are having a good day. It is 9 a.m. and today we're doing something that I never wanted to do in all the years that we've been rolling around in the rig. We're getting a storage unit. Thinking into the future, and that I would want to have these things in the future. So for right now, my solution is to get this stuff moved today. So what I'm doing is riding over here to this storage unit. I already rented it. I just want to meet have them show me where it is, what kind of lock do I have to buy, all that good stuff. And then I'm going over to Dalen's house and we're going to load up a bunch of stuff. Of course, my truck is over at Harry's house getting the brakes done, but I figured between this vehicle, with the seat down in the back, and Dalen's, we could, make a couple trips back and forth and get all my stuff moved. So we're going to pull up here in a second and meet the manager. So it's right along up here. I remember when they built this, it wasn't too long ago actually. I think it's up here on the right side. It's number here it is. The big sign. Global self-storage. Yeah, I remember when they built this not too long ago. All right, let's get this taken care of and I'll get back with you. Okay, we just found our unit. I've got to pick up one of those round locks, and you know what the pisser is? I had like 4 of them at one time. I had a job out in California back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and that company paid for me to move out there, and then the storage unit, so I had all, and I don't know where they are. I can see them in my mind. I remember them, those round locks, but if you paid me $1 million to find it, well, I'd probably find it for $1 million, but I don't know where they are. My stuff is so scattered around. So I forgot water, so I'm stopping back to pick up some bottles of water, and then we're heading over to Dalen's house. And I've got to stop on the way back over there to pick up a lock. So we're underway. So I now have a storage unit, and I'm not super happy about it, but I feel good now that all my stuff is in one place, and that it's out of Mom's hair and it's out of Dalen's hair, and it's in a good, clean, like I said, climate controlled. The place is brand new. I remember when they built it. The building it can't even be 5 years old. It's a really nice place. I got a good one. So I've been taking all of my stuff over there. I've kind of, like, all my clothes are in big plastic totes, big bins, so everything is well situated to be stored in a storage unit like that. But even at the smallest 5x10, I have it maybe 10% full. I haven't put any shelves or anything in there, so everything is just on the floor, and the floor isn't even covered yet, and I'm pretty much close to everything is over there that I'm going to put there. So if they had a 2x5, I probably would have been okay with that. But so everything is secure over there. We went over there actually when it was like 85 degrees and the air conditioning was running in the place. It felt good. It was nice. So it is climate controlled. So I now have a storage locker, and that having my items in a storage unit and thinking about the future and where we're going to go, that's something that's been on my mind, because we're at 5 years right now this month since I sold the house, and how many more years are we going to do it? I don't know, but I need to start having some kind of future plan or idea of what we're going to do, so that I have something to work towards. That's, I like to have goals kind of set up so that I have a focus and something that I can work towards. Always been that way. And thinking about what we're going to do for our future, and that's something that I need to nail down and create an idea list of what it's going to look like and how we're going to get there, and what we need to start doing now to be able to get there. So I'll use some of my best techniques that I learned in manufacturing on how to create a roadmap and get a burn down plan set up so that I can start doing things now that need to be done now to meet our goal of the future. What you doing, goofball? Hey, stop that licking. Lefty! Lefty! Hey, puppy. Got him his little water bowl there. One of you sent that to us. I use that all the time. Little pop-up water bowl. Happy 4th, everyone. We're out here. It is a muggy, warm morning here in western New York, but kind of the the textbook what you want on July 4th. It's a summer day. Couldn't ask for better. A little bit of breeze would be nice, but not really happening today. Everyone have such a great day. Everyone have a great 4th again. I hope y'all are having good weather where you are. It's warm today. It's supposed to be warm again tomorrow. But I hope y'all have a beautiful holiday. Enjoy seeing all the American flags flying. I enjoy seeing that. Everyone take care, be safe. We'll see y'all again really soon. Last minute edit to the video here. I just got a message from Harry and the rig is done. So we're going to head over there later and pick it up. And I'll give you all an update once we have it back and we take it for some test drives and see how she feels.